If you ever wanted to learn how to make a pound cake from scratch, then you are on the right video. This is how you make my homemade lemon buttermilk pound cake from scratch. I'm going to show you how to get it soft and fluffy and moist on the inside with a golden crust and a lemony glaze. So let's go ahead and get started. Here are the ingredients you're going to need. You're going to need some lemons for some lemon zest and lemon juice. You're also going to need some whole fat buttermilk. I love using this whole fat buttermilk instead of the low fat one because it gives it extra fat and extra moistness. You're going to need some lemon extract. You're also going to need 2 sticks of salted butter, and you're also going to need some butter flavor shortening as well. For the flour of choice, we're using White Lily all-purpose flour. I do not use cake flour in pound cakes. You're also going to need some granulated sugar as well, along with 6 large eggs. Now your eggs have to be room temperature, and your butter flavor shortening and your butter has to be room temperature. I forgot to mention that. You're also going to need some pan spray to grease your pan. That's all you're going to need. So right now I'm getting ready to measure out my sugar. Now I'm using a scale to measure my ingredients. You're going to see me use a scale in this video. I just think it's more accurate, but you of course can go by cups, and it's 3 cups of sugar that you're going to need to add to your bowl. And then you're going to go in with a little bit of lemon zest. Now the full recipe to this pound cake will be in the description below, by the way. Also, if you want to get my pound cake ebook where you can get 40 plus more pound cake recipes, then I'll leave that link in there as well. But yeah, this particular cake will be in the description below. But I'm zesting in my lemon, and I'm looking for about 1 tablespoon of lemon zest. When lemon zest sits in sugar, it releases what's called lemon oil, and lemon oil is going to flavor our cake a little bit more than just using lemon extract. So now we're going to get our room temperature salted butter. Now we're using 2 sticks of room temperature salted butter, and we're going to use a 1/2 cup of butter flavor shortening. I like this combination. It always gives me a moist pound cake. If you don't have butter flavor shortening, you can sub for 1 stick of butter, but just know that the texture will be different on the pound cake. So definitely keep that in mind. But now we're going to get to the most important part of this whole process, and that's creaming our butter, sugar, and shortening together. A lot of people mess up their pound cakes by doing this wrong. They either mix for too long or they mix for, not long enough. But you definitely want to mix this thoroughly. As you can see, we started the mixer, the butter flavor and shortening is now combining, and we're starting to beat up air into our batter. Air in a pound cake makes it soft and fluffy, because otherwise it'll just be dense and a little bit bready. So this actually helps the pound cake become light and fluffy and moist. I always beat my butter and sugar together for about 5 to 7 minutes when it comes to pound cakes. This is super important. Like I said, you're going to get that lift and that airiness from beating your butter and sugar properly. So as you can see here, I'm at the halfway point, and I'm just stopping the mix and just scraping down my bowl, because you want to make sure everything is well combined. And then I'm turning it up a little bit higher. You do not want to go higher than a 6. Because if you overcream, you can get gluten streaks, and that's where it look like wet spots in the middle of your cake. You don't want that. So definitely don't go higher than a 6. So I'm creaming this butter and sugar together, and as you can see, it's starting to change colors. That's a telltale sign that it's going to be ready in a second. The reason why I give you 5 to 7 minutes, because it's depending on the mixer and how much horsepower your mixer has. So that was a particular time limit for people who are using hand mixer and people who are using stand mixers. But I'm going to show you another telltale sign that your mixer is ready. So I'm going to stop my mixer right here, and I'm going to pull it up, and as you can see, it has a creaminess to it, sort of like a whipped frosting or something like that, and it has more volume on it. So I'm almost there, but I want to get another little mix just to make sure that everything is well combined. I did see a little bit of butter and sugar on the side of the bowl. This is the only time in the recipe where you're going to be mixing for this long. The eggs and the flour and the buttermilk all have to be mixed on low speed. So, I know it's going to be a little bit hard to get through, but if you cream this properly, you're going to have a banging pound cake. Most of the time when people contact me with the problem, I can always go back to their creaming method and just see that they didn't cream it for long enough, or they creamed it too little. But this is what you're looking for, is look like a frosting a little bit, like you can spread it, and that is exactly what you want. You see me spreading it back over my spatula on my mixer, and you can see that is what you want. It's creamy, it's white, it's fluffy, and now you're ready to start adding in your eggs. I'm going to scrape down my bowl to make sure everything is well combined. The hard part of this pound cake is over. Now we're going to get get started with adding in the eggs one at a time. So it is on low speed, and I'm going to start adding in eggs one at a time, and I'm not going to add the next egg until I see that the yellow yolk. Return your mixer to low speed, and you're going to add in your eggs one at a time, and I'm looking for the yellow to be completely disappeared before adding in the next egg. I accidentally added 2 eggs on this one, but don't do that. My pancake still turned out great, but you want to go one at a time because you're slowly introducing the egg into your butter and sugar mixer, and you don't want to give it too much to work with. That's when you start getting those separations in your batter, and that is not good for your pound cake. Also, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you give this a thumbs up and share it with somebody that wants to make pound cakes, because if they make this, they'll be designated to pound cake duty all the time, trust me. So as you can see, I'm adding in these eggs one at a time now with 6 of them. You're going to be here for about 2 minutes. It's not going to take long to add these eggs. You're just looking, like I said, for the yellow to be disappeared in the batter before adding in the next egg. Now this is a slow process because eggs introduce richness and moisture and lift to your pound cake. If you mix too fast while you're adding in your eggs, you're going to add air to the egg whites. I don't know if you guys have ever made a meringue before, but basically you beat air into the egg whites, and then it becomes like the frosting. But with this particular process, if you add air to your egg whites, it's going to collapse your cake because it's going to fluff up in the oven, and once it's cool, it's going to collapse. So I know a lot of people who, they bake their pound cake, they see that it's risen, high, and then when they take it out and let it cool, it collapses. So make sure that doesn't happen to you. But as you can see, all my eggs are in my batter now, and I'm just scraping down my bowl. And if I'm seeing a little bit of yellow, I'll start the mix up a little bit. But remember, it's going to be on low speed. But you definitely want to make sure you get all of that, that goodness and that batter off of your, spatula, just to make sure everything is well combined in your bowl. But once you see silky smooth ribbons, then you're ready to go to the next step. So now I'm getting my other wet ingredients ready, which is just some buttermilk and lemon extract. Make sure you shake your buttermilk to make sure it's not separating, but you're going to add about 1 cup of whole fat buttermilk. And then I'm going to add some of my homemade lemon extract. Now you can add vanilla extract, but I didn't have any vanilla extract at the house, and I only had lemon extract, so I just used what I had. But you want to stir together the buttermilk and vanilla extract and then place that to the side. At this point, I forgot that I didn't grease my pound cake pan. And as you guys can see, my pound cake pan did stick, but Pam spray is the best, if I'm just going to be honest. My pound cake stick because I got a few scratches on this pound cake pan, and I've been playing around with replacing it. But after this cake, I'm definitely going to replace this particular pound cake pan. Don't get any scratches on your pan because it's going to be hard for your cake to come out. But I'm going to put my greased pound cake pan in the freezer, and it's just going to give it time for the spray to adhere to the pan. It's like a coating. And while that's in the freezer, we're going to work on our dry ingredients. I have some white lily all-purpose flour. You guys know I love white lily all-purpose flour. That's pretty much what I use for 99% of my pound cakes, with some exceptions. But this is 3 cups of flour also, and I'm just sifting this. I'm using a cake sifter, and we're just going to sift it out. I am using a scale, like I said, when it comes to measuring this ingredients, but it is 3 cups of flour. I will leave the grams and the cup version in the description below. So if you guys want to have a scale and you guys want to use it, I always get the accurate results when I use a scale, just FYI. But you only want to sift this one time. I know there's a whole lot of people that say you have to sift it twice. I've never had a problem sifting my flour one time. I don't know where that came from, but after you sift it, you want to add in your baking powder and your salt. I'll leave the exact measurements, like I said, in the description below, so you guys know the exact measurements to put in here. I always add a little bit of baking powder to kind of give it a little bit more lift. But you're going to whisk it together to make sure that salt and baking powder is spread throughout your flour mix. I'm going to return my mixer to low speed, and we're going to alternate this flour mix with our buttermilk and vanilla and lemon extract mix. And you want to start it in with flour. Remember that flour coats your butter and sugar and eggs and gluten, which gives this pound cake batter structure. If you were to add the liquid before you add in your flour, it will begin to separate, and that's what we don't want. But as you can see, I'm slowly adding everything in. I'm giving it around 2 to 3 scoops of flour, and I'm alternating that with the vanilla extract, the lemon extract, and the buttermilk. You want to go as slow as you can with this process. It's no need to rush. I know you guys are ready to put this pound cake in the oven. I know it's smelling delicious right now, but definitely do not rush this process, and do not add more speed to your mixer, because if you do, it's a possibility that you could get gluten streaks in your pound cake. So just make sure you're just doing this one at a time. And remember to always start and end with flour, and you're going to be fine. So at this point, you're going to start to see that your mix is going to start to come together. It's going to begin to look silky smooth as you add more flour, as you add more buttermilk. And like I said, this pound cake, when I tell you it is the best pound cake that I've had in my life. I've made this pound cake so many times, and I know this is going to be a family favorite for you and yours. But yeah, you definitely want to do this the right way. As you can see, we're getting towards the end of me adding in the flour and the buttermilk, and I started to turn off my mixer because like I said, I'm very, very afraid of them gluten streaks. So I just had to stop it and just add it in there. I didn't want to continue to have the mixer going. I move a lot slower when I'm doing a recording because I want you guys to actually get this right. And I know a lot of people learn at different speeds, so that's why you kind of see me, just slowly adding it in there so you guys can see the way that I'm doing it, and so you can mirror and copy the way that I'm doing it. A lot of people just say, hey, you're going too fast on your shorts. So that's why I make these long form videos for you guys. So I definitely appreciate you guys coming to watch this video. But yeah, I'm adding in the last bit of that buttermilk, and then I'm going to add in the last bit of that flour. Also, if you're not a lemon pound cake fan, I do have a vanilla buttermilk pound cake that you guys can check out. The recipe to that is in Southern Pound Cakes too, so you guys can definitely make both versions and let me know which one you guys like the most. But yeah, so after we add in the rest of that flour, I'm going to give it one final mix, and then I'm going to stop the mix. At this point, I'm going to preheat my oven to 325. I didn't have the oven preheated while I was mixing because I didn't want it to get too hot up in here while I was mixing this pound cake batter and taking my time. So yeah, I'm going to scrape down the spatula and I'm going to scrape down the bowl. The smell that's coming off this pound cake batter is super tempting to eat, but do not eat it because it got raw egg in it. Don't taste test your pound cake before you put it in the oven. But yeah, it does smell really good. So you want to scrape everything and you want to give it one final mix with your spatula. And since you are mixing the last part with the wooden spatula by hand, you're not at risk for creating gluten streaks or over mixing it. So yeah, just give it one little final mix, get all around the sides. I know shortening can be quite sticky, so you definitely want to get to the bottom of it and just manually mix it to make sure that everything is well combined and the texture that you're looking for in your batter is silky smooth, but it's able to hold its shape, so it's kind of like frosting, a thick frosting, and you're ready to put it in your pan. Now I'm using a Nordic Ware tube pan that I got from Target last year, and actually it's time for a new pan because like I said, I scratched this up, and you're going to see when I take my pound cake out that it kind of sticked a little bit. You can also use an Angel Food pan. I think that's made by Wilton with a removable bottom. I think that's at Walmart for about $12. If it is, I'll link it below. But that's one that I used to use a lot. I have to find that pan because I really want to start back using that pan because right now I really do not want to buy another pound cake pan. But yeah, it's going to force me to do it, especially with the fall coming and, baking more pound cakes than usual. But yeah, definitely make sure that you fill this all the way into the top. Make sure it's even. We're going to shake it a little bit and we're going to tap it. Tapping it just removes the air bubbles from the pound cake and it makes it a little bit dense. So you can see me tapping it around, shaking it, just removing those air bubbles. If you don't want to tap, I know the old grandmothers used to get a butter knife and they used to run it through the pound cake batter while I was still in the pan, and that will remove the air bubbles as well. I think I've shown you guys that a couple of times on this channel. But you're going to bake this on 325 for about an hour and 20 minutes. Do not shake your pound cake till an hour has passed. You do not want your cake to collapse. And make sure there's not a lot of noise going around when you're baking this pound cake as well. You know it's ready when you can take a toothpick and you can check all sides and it comes out clean. You want to let this cool for about 5 to 10 minutes before trying to remove it. Now, I did record myself making the glaze, but my camera, I do not know what it did with the files. But the glaze recipe will be in the description below. Sorry about this, you guys. But yeah, you're going to add your lemon glaze in here and you're going to spread it around. You want to give an even coat and you're going to let that glaze sit in for about 5 minutes. And then you're going to cut your cake. And when I tell you guys that this cake is good, I promise you this cake is good. It is super moist. It is tender. I mean, my goodness. I mean, you guys are going to enjoy this cake. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Also, make sure you share this with people who want to make pound cakes. And if you're looking for more pound cake recipes, check out the link in my bio where you can get all of my pound cake ebooks. There's 40+ pound cake recipes in those ebooks that you can try. But yeah, come back to this video after you make this pound cake and tell me how it is.